Sarah Martinez had been working from home for 3 years now, and she thought she knew every delivery truck that came down Maple Street. The UPS truck arrived at 2 p.m. sharp every Tuesday. FedEx usually came around noon on Thursdays. Amazon deliveries were scattered throughout the week, but always in their familiar branded vans. So when the unmarked white van pulled up in front of her house at 9:47 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, Sarah barely looked up from her laptop. She was deep into quarterly reports and assumed it was just another delivery service she hadn't seen before. The doorbell rang once, then twice in quick succession. "Coming," she called out, saving her work and padding to the front door in her slippers. Through the peephole, she saw a man in a generic brown uniform holding a clipboard. Nothing unusual there. She opened the door with the chain still attached. "Sarah Martinez?" the man asked, his voice oddly formal. "That's me. I have a delivery that requires your signature." Sarah unlatched the chain and opened the door wider. The man was tall, maybe 40, with graying temples and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He handed her the clipboard, and she noticed his hands were unusually smooth, like he'd never done manual labor in his life. "What company are you with?" she asked, scanning the form. It was mostly blank except for her name and address. "Special Courier Service," he replied. "Your package is in the van," Sarah signed quickly, eager to get back to her work. The man walked to the van and returned with a medium-sized box wrapped in plain brown paper. No return address, no shipping labels. Just her name written in block letters with a black marker. "Have a good day, ma'am," he said, tipping an imaginary hat. Sarah watched him drive away, then examined the package more carefully. It was heavier than she expected, and there was something odd about the way it was wrapped. The paper seemed too thick, almost like it was meant to muffle sound or block scanning equipment. She shook it gently. Something shifted inside, but it didn't sound like anything she was expecting. No rattle of electronics, no soft thud of clothing. It was more like sand or maybe small stones. Back in her home office, Sarah set the package on her desk and stared at it. She couldn't remember ordering anything recently. Her birthday wasn't for 3 months. It wasn't a holiday. She picked up her phone and called her sister Jenny. "Did you send me something?" she asked when Jenny answered, "Send you what?" "And hello to you too. A package. Some guy just delivered it, but there's no return address." "Nope, wasn't me. Maybe it's from Mom." Sarah's mother lived in Florida and rarely sent packages without calling first. "I'll call her later. Oh, this is just weird." She hung up and looked at the package again. There was something almost magnetic about it, like it was demanding to be opened, but something in her gut told her to wait. She'd learned to trust her instincts over the years, especially after the divorce, when she'd had to become more aware of her surroundings. Instead of opening it, she did something that would later seem prescient. She took photos of the package. From every angle, including close-ups of the handwriting and the way it was wrapped, and she called the local police non-emergency line. "Received a package I didn't order," she explained to the dispatcher. "It might be nothing, but something. Feels off about it." Officer Martinez, no relation, despite the shared last name, arrived 20 minutes later. He was a compact man in his 50s, with kind eyes and a reassuring manner. "You did the right thing calling," he said, examining the package with gloved hands. "We've had a few reports lately about suspicious deliveries in the area." "What kind?" "Of reports. It's packages with no return addresses, unusual couriers, that sort of thing." "Can you describe the delivery person?" Sarah gave him the description, and Officer Martinez wrote everything down carefully. "I'm going to call the bomb squad," he said. "Just as a precaution." Bomb squad. Sarah's heart rate spiked. "You think it's a bomb? I think it's better to be safe. Why don't you wait outside while we sort this out?" The next hour was a blur of activity. More police cars arrived, followed by a truck she didn't recognize. Neighbors came out to watch from their porches. Sarah stood across the street, clutching her phone and wishing she'd never opened the door. Detective Lisa Chen introduced herself and asked Sarah to walk through everything again. She was thorough, asking about the van, the courier, the package itself. When Sarah mentioned the man's smooth hands, Detective Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. "Anything else strike you as odd? You knew my name before I confirmed it?" and he seemed to know exactly where I lived, but there was no GPS device in the van that I could see. The bomb squad technician emerged from Sarah's house carrying a metal container. Detective Chen excused herself and went to speak with him. Sarah watched their animated conversation from across the street, trying to read their body language. When Detective Chen returned, her expression was grim. The good news is, it's not a bomb. The bad news is what we found inside. The package had contained 23 cell phones, all different models, all turned off. Each phone had a small piece of paper taped to it with a name and address. Sarah's name was on one of them. I think you may have been targeted for identity theft, Detective Chen explained. This looks like part of a larger operation. These phones are probably going to be used to create fake accounts or commit fraud. But why me? I'm nobody special. You work from home, you have a good credit score, you live alone. You're actually an ideal target. The fact that you called us probably disrupted their entire operation. Over the next few days, Sarah learned more about the scheme. The fake courier had been making similar deliveries throughout the city, but most people had simply opened their packages and thrown away the contents, assuming it was a mistake or a prank. The phones were part of a sophisticated identity theft ring that used bulk phone purchases to create fake accounts across multiple platforms. The criminals would use these accounts to apply for credit, make purchases, and then disappear before anyone noticed. Your instincts probably saved you and a lot of other people from serious financial damage, Detective Chen told her during a follow-up interview. The investigation led to the arrest of 7 people, including the fake courier, whose name was actually Marcus Webb. He'd been using a stolen van and forged credentials to make deliveries across 3 states. Sarah's story made the local news, with the police department using it as an example of why people should trust their instincts about suspicious activity. She was invited to speak at a community safety meeting, where she emphasized the importance of taking photos and calling authorities when something doesn't feel right. It seemed like such a normal delivery, she told the crowd. But when you look back, all the signs were there. The unmarked van, the generic uniform, the lack of proper shipping labels. I almost opened that package without thinking twice. 3 months later, Sarah received a legitimate package from her sister Jenny. It was wrapped in bright birthday paper with a card attached. Delivered by a regular UPS driver in a proper uniform who checked his scanner before asking for her signature. As she opened the gift, a photo album filled with family memories, Sarah reflected on how a single moment of suspicion had changed her perspective on safety. She had learned to trust her instincts, to ask questions, and to remember that sometimes the most ordinary situations can hide extraordinary dangers. She also learned that being cautious didn't mean being paranoid. It meant being aware, prepared, and willing to act when something felt wrong. In a world where criminals were becoming more sophisticated, those instincts might be the most valuable thing she owned. The case was eventually closed, with all 7 suspects receiving prison sentences ranging from 2 to 7 years. The phones were returned to their rightful owners or destroyed, and the identity theft ring was completely dismantled. Sarah still works from home on Maple Street, but now she knows the schedules and faces of all her regular delivery drivers. She's installed a security camera and joined the Neighborhood Watch program. Most importantly, she's learned to trust that small voice in her head that says something's not right. Because sometimes what looks like just another delivery is actually something much more dangerous. Sometimes the best defense is simply paying attention to what your instincts are trying to tell you. Word count: approximately 1,500 words, 10-minute read.